welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that is perfectly balanced, as all things should be. I'm your host, Max Mosier, here today, hosting episode 139, the She-Hulk series, season 1 finale, excuse me. It is going to be a good one. I'm here with my co-host and the peanut butter to my jelly. It is Mark Jones. Mark, how are you?
I'm great. I'm glad I was your peanut butter because we're both sticky, and once you put us together, we're unbreakable. We're just a big, sticky, unbreakable bond.
I hate that you make things difficult for me out of the gate with your intro. Like every time I feel uncomfortable when I introduce you.
I'm sorry to unintentionally make you feel icky and
Don't
sticky.
Call me sticky and icky. It's getting worse. Yuck. Yuck.
Yeah, phooey.
We're going to talk about She-Hulk today on episode 139, wherever you're listening. However you're listening, thanks for making us part of your podcast experience. You can check us out on everything in our link in the show notes. I'm not going to plug anymore. That would be ridiculous. If you're new, you're like, no, thank you. Get that away from me. I do not want what you're soliciting. Just talk about the crazy things that happened in She-Hulk. Before we do that, though, I have to solicit one more thing.
Having said everything I said, one more thing.
In your
Suckers.
face. We do have a Patreon, so check that out. 35 minutes of content before the show. It's a pre-show. It's a pre-show for the real show. Pre-show for the real show.
And then we have an after show sometimes.
Do you want me to do an after show today? Because typically I stop right at the end from
Max
editing.
is like, I'm done.
All right, we can do an after show. We'll do an after show. We'll talk for a little bit afterwards. You got it. I'll make it happen. Okay. But before we talk about She-Hulk, we want to make sure that you're familiar with our rating system and how we rate things on this podcast. So we're going to go ahead and put that bumper right here.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
And then additionally, this episode has some very significant spoilers in it that by now, if you haven't found out what they are and you're listening, congratulations to you. That's a special achievement, in my opinion. But I'm just going to ask you, go see this before you come back here because we are going to fully spoil it. This is your spoiler warning for She-Hulk Season 1.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
So She-Hulk is the show about Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk. She navigates the complicated life of being a single 30-something attorney who also happens to be a 6'7" super-powered Hulk. This is created for TV purposes by Jessica Gao, starring Tatiana Maslany, Ginger Gonzaga, Malia Araya, let me see who else, Jamila Jamil, Renee Elise Goldsberry, Steve Coulter, Josh Segarra, Tim Roth, John Bass, and Benedict Wong, Mark Ruffalo, and who plays Daredevil? Charlie Cox. I totally lost that name at the top of my head. I'm so sorry. Charlie Cox.
Say, well, it's Matt Murdock, you dummy.
I know it's Matt Murdock, but I was like,
wait, you wanted the actor name.
All I could think was Matt Murdock. I was like, it's not Matt Murdock. It's not Matt Murdock. Also, a writing credit goes to John Buscema as well. Stanley obviously is getting, producer credit as well as a slew of others. But this season's been going on all year. It has been a divisive season, to say the least, from Megan Thee Stallion twerking to Jamila Jamil essentially playing a content creator villain versus a full-fledged power villain. You had the Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock preview coming into the season. He was in the trailers. And a lot of people didn't know what to make of this show and the 30-minute format, essentially 20 to 25 minutes if you count the credits. And it hit out with a bang with her becoming the Hulk and the She-Hulk, and the Hulk working with her to develop her. And she has this huge dialogue with him saying, I know what it's like to control my anger, so I'll make it happen. And from that point on, we get this interesting story arc. So, Mark, with all of that being said, and all of that precursor to this show, can you tell the audience before talking about this final episode, what were your general thoughts after 8 episodes coming into this episode about this whole show?
My general thoughts, I've been thinking the show is the breath of fresh air, like we've always, like you and I apparently agree on. It tells, I think it's been telling a really great story. I love the fourth wall breaks, which, if I'm not mistaken, She-Hulk did the fourth wall breaks before Deadpool, right? In the comics? Like
Ooh, that is a great question.
Because that was one
I
thing
do not know that answer.
watching with my beautiful wife, Kelly, because she didn't really like this last episode because, you know, then her big thing was like, well, Deadpool does the fourth wall breaks. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure She-Hulk did that first. And then she's like, well, you know, and it's the other thing where it's like, you know, there are, you know, fans who are just fans of the shows and movies that don't know a lot about the comic lore, where it's like, yeah, if you didn't know that, you might think like, well, Daredevil did that first. Why is She-Hulk doing it? But, you know, I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong on that. I love the characters they've, you know, introduced, and I love that they brought back, you know, Emil Blonsky. I thought that was great. But overall, it's like, yeah, you know, that's why it's in my top 5 for these new Marvel shows. So,
yeah, this show really, if you've heard me review it in the couple episodes I've been on, I have been very surprised and pleasantly joyful with my experience with She-Hulk. A couple things that have flown under the radar that I really want to celebrate about this show are, one, I think the journey that this character takes is significant. I think it's great that the stakes were minimal leading up to the final episode that we'll talk about here in a minute. I think her parents being loving parents was a breath of fresh air. And I'm not saying that every parent has to be loving, but in a superhero format, that is normally not something that is followed. And I really appreciated that, the nucleus of the family being something of a theme in this show.
and that none of her family got killed too. It's just like, nope, they're all
Yeah,
still
nobody
there.
got killed. Nobody died. There was it just, and they were quirky. They weren't flashy.
They were just like a normal family.
Exactly. And I really appreciated that. And I just applaud Jessica Gao for that. I think Jessica Gao did a great job with that. I liked Tim Roth's transformation. I liked how they explained it. It didn't feel cheesy or weird. It was a question I had, and we'll talk about the end of the episode in the season, but I think they set themselves up well with how they're going with his direction. I really liked that we talked about this universe as a whole in the format of day-to-day life. This is exactly what this series has needed. The Marvel Cinematic Universe needs daily conversation about the minuscule things that have happened because of the big effects of the big things. And I think this show checks that box. I don't think it's a perfect show. I don't think any of the Disney Plus shows are perfect yet. But I do think it's the best. And I thought it was the best coming into it. And the series finale, in my opinion, really set the stage on that. So, Mark, go ahead and give us your review of the season finale. I said series again, sorry. Give us your review of the season finale of She-Hulk season 1.
Honestly, I haven't laughed that hard at a Marvel movie or show in a while. I would give it a 6 out of 6. I don't think anyone could have guessed what they did for the finale.
Mm-mm.
I don't think that's like an unguessable thing, in my opinion. They totally swerved us. But yeah, it's like, you know, the final episode. I almost said it. Final episode is, you know, we finally are getting a culmination of what's happening. Like, we're trying to discover like who the bad guy is, and it's like her friend. That's who I thought it was going to be, and like they swerved us there. They made it look like she was on Intelligentsia uploading that video of her, and then she was just like basically catfishing them to find out where they were.
Sure.
And then you find out it's one of the
Todd.
It was Todd. Yep. One of the guys she tried dating was Hulk King, and like stole her blood. And then all of a sudden they're at basically on Emil Blonsky's property, having like an event, and he's like speaking. So then you're thinking like, is he part of this? But
Sure.
he's not. He's just a paid dude to give him like inspirational talk.
Exactly.
As Abomination. And it's like this all like, oh, it was just, and then they start fighting because then Jen decides to, because you know now she has like this ankle monitor, she can't be She-Hulk anymore, so she goes to Emil to like unwind, or to his like retreat, and then wants to attack him and goes there and sees him as Abomination. And that's when Todd's like, oh, I stole your blood, like basically revealed his whole evil plan. And then he becomes the Hulk, and then Hulk shows up. Titan, or what's her name?
Titania.
Titania shows up, and then we get that whole like free. She's like, wait, none of this makes sense. Like literally, like
We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about that for sure. Yeah, which that is like I think that's going to be a majority of our dialogue today.
I'm pretty sure that's like that's leading up to that part where she like then stops it, and you're like, okay, what's happening if she's going to stop all this action stuff? Because and then she tells the audience this doesn't make sense. And you're like, yeah, it kind of doesn't make sense, does it?
I would like to go into the weeds with you on some of this.
Yeah, let's weed dive.
But let me give my review real quick, and then we will. Okay, so I this isn't going to be a surprise to anybody that's listened to me up to this point. But this is a 6 out of 6 episode.
Infinity Snap
on the episode. And I'm going to probably go ahead and say this episode is better than Loki's season finale.
Ooh.
I'm going to go ahead and say that. And
I don't know about that, dog.
And I understand that's going to be blasphemy to some people.
I'm willing to hear why.
Here's my why. It paired up with the stakes. I've heard the argument from some people on TikTok and Reddit that, oh, she just basically chose her own fate. It was like a choose your own fate book. And she told the writers that Matt Murdock needed to date her and that Emil Blonsky needed to turn himself in and all this stuff. And I was like, no, she
loved that.
Got the stakes reconciled that were specific to her character. And in the first episode of the season, these same people were complaining that Hulk had to carry her. I'm not going to make the layup of the argument of She-Hulk, and the one maybe quote unquote negative is it's very on the nose with how they talk about people on the internet, in my opinion.
Oh, it's like super meta.
It's the most meta thing of all time in Marvel. It doesn't bother me though, because people said it.
It's true.
But to me, it's a layup to attack people like that. Cause I'm like, those people don't, in my opinion, their opinions in my ear out the other. The reality of She-Hulk, that what makes her so great is that she developed as a character. She lost everything by the final episode. She connected with multiple different MCU projects, which is what I wanted. She has the ability to continue on. She's going to be in the next Daredevil. I think she's going to be in Daredevil with him.
I loved how like I looked at my beautiful wife Kelly again. I was like, I loved that they're making them a couple.
And they're making them a couple. I would have never have guessed that. I would never
loving couple.
I would have guessed them hooking up, but not a couple. And that's another thing for this show. This is a show for her looking for someone that loves her for the way they are. And in She-Hulk the comic, the character is very provocative and sleeps with a lot of people. I like that she's trying to kind of be more of a family person, or I mean, not family, but have a boyfriend. I like that.
Have a relationship and be able to grow with that relationship. That's what she wants.
Yes, I think it's great. And I think every character around her was great. Pug was hilarious. Ginger was hilarious. The dresser was hilarious. Her boss nailed the boss role of just like this guy that kind of likes it, kind of doesn't.
Yep.
She gets a great job, but at what cost? She's engaging all these sort of people. And the show writer, Jessica Gao, did the ultimate bamboozle. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But here's what I'm going to say to kind of close. And this is the clip that I would ask Isaac to clip. If you are somebody that's detesting She-Hulk right now, I want you to know that if Deadpool had done this, you would be praising it. I want it to be known that if it was Deadpool doing it, you'd be praising it. And I'm not doing the layup of like, it's because he's a man. It's because when Deadpool does these jokes, it's funny, it's quirky, it's his shtick. But for some reason, nobody's willing to let She-Hulk have this. And it drives me bananas. I think it works perfectly for Tatiana Maslany. And I want to see more of it. I want to see more fourth wall breaking. I want to see her and Deadpool fight to get control of the script. I want to see those kinds of things in the future. This is a great comedy. It's one of the best comedies of the year. It's going to be in my list of Stan Lee's probably for TV shows. I really like this show. I tip my hat to Jessica Gao. It is not perfect. It can get better, but this is what people have wanted Deadpool to be in the MCU. It's a PG-13 version of Deadpool. The audience is going to love it. I'm eating it up.
Well, What would be even
And I can't
better
wait.
is if there is a crossover where Deadpool shows up to She-Hulk and like he swears and it gets bleeped on her show.
100%. I would love it.
So where she's on his show, she swears, it doesn't get bleeped, and then make a reference to like, oh, okay, that's what the world we're in.
Exactly.
Like that's just great stuff. That's like comic books come to life type of stuff. That's what we want. I guess that's not what we all want.
And Jessica Gao didn't do a great job with like the in-house courtroom writing, but I think they're going to hear that feedback from people. And that scene with her and Daredevil last week was great.
Oh yeah,
with them doing litigation.
Their banter, yeah,
it was great. That's the stuff we want. So let's double down on it. Let's keep adding more obscure characters. Let's bring special guests in. Let's bring treat it like the old 90s, Mark, where it's like, hey, next week James Spader's coming on, or next week this person's coming on. Like, treat it like that.
That's what they should do. Like every episode, there's some like, top celebrity, mid celebrity, whatever, but someone that like everyone knows type of person, and have him play either like a character from the comic books or like maybe even a hero villain that's kind of like a low level that no one really is like, okay.
Or themselves, like Megan Thee Stallion. Like you can go a million directions with this show. This show should be a 10-season show.
Yeah.
This show should be doing everything there. And the stakes do not have to be high in the slightest for this show to succeed.
And maybe that's why a lot of people love this show from that aspect. Like I think what we both love about it.
Yeah.
There is no high stakes really. It's just like we get to like live in the world where superheroes exist without having to worry about, Kang showing up at this point. Like Kang's a movie villain or a Loki villain, in his series, but like it's not high level. There's nothing we have to worry about. Freaking Frogman. That's all we have to worry about. That's the dude.
The more of Jennifer Walters getting Matt Murdock to date her at the end, that was fulfilling as a viewer. It wasn't cheap. It was earned. It was earned in episode 8. And I liked that. I didn't feel like it was too late. I didn't feel like it was rushed. I felt like it was earned. Matt Murdock did all the heavy lifting in his previous show. We didn't need to do his character development.
Oh, yeah, in his previous show, not the previous episode.
That too. All right, let's talk about this episode since you wanted to talk about it too. So she's released from the DODC custody, which was the same custody.
Okay,
Department of Damage Control, the same custody that was hunting Miss Marvel.
Yep.
And Peter Parker in his movie.
So why did she get arrested and have to basically give up being She-Hulk when all she did was do property damage? That just seemed too sus that they were just there ready to arrest her.
Oh, we didn't talk about this, Mark. The intro from based off of the old Hulk show.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
It was great. I had to tell Kelly this is from the original show.
It was unbelievable. Shot for shot.
The 70s. Yeah. Yeah, it was
beat
great.
For beat.
That's why I love how this is so meta. Like it's great. Like what they're doing is fantastic stuff.
Having Mark Ruffalo there just like standing awkwardly in his 70s clothing was so funny.
And I was really kind of hoping when I knew it was coming, I was like, I kind of hope they just put Lou Ferrigno just in a Hulk outfit.
Give him boobs. Let him.
Yeah, that's what I was like. That would be awesome. That would just be so awesome. That's not what they did. They got an actress. It was great, but it's just like I wish they kind of did that because I was like, oh, that'd been perfect to bring him back.
It really would have. That would have been great. So she's forced to wear an inhibitor, and here's what makes this episode so great. Mark, was immediately I was like, oh my word, she has an inhibitor on her. Oh my gosh,
Bruce Banner be like, say. It was like a prototype. How do these people have that? That was another thing I want to talk about.
I don't know.
Right? Exactly.
Don't know. But I loved that immediately I got the stakes. She lost her job. She's in jail. She can't be She-Hulk anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
She moves home. The scene of her going in her bedroom with all the like goofy 90s Aaron Brockovich, the mom's like, I work out at 7 a.m. every day. Again, I've got to tell you guys, in the stage of life I'm in, these parents, it feels like Jessica Gao was following my parents around. I'm telling you, the way they were talking, like the way, it's like God, nobody really even likes nobody even really likes superheroes. Like the dad saying that, I'm like, that's the kind of crap my dad would say to me. Max, don't worry about it. Like, young life's not that big anyway. You know, he'd say stuff like that just to like cheer me up.
Yeah.
He wouldn't mean it. Stuff like that. Like just the fact that these parents try to be loving and they can't say anything. They're just goofy.
Yep.
I feel for this character. I love this. I love what they did there. And the mom's like, I work out every day at 7 a.m. on that. I'm like, it's painful.
I just now
How much they nailed that.
You're that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the TV with the beer in his hand and you're like, that's me.
That's David Rayad.
Yep. I'm living that life.
And she walks in, just puts her head on the bed. I'm like, that's my sister.
Yeah.
That is literally my sister. It's so funny. I just had to make that note. I talked about that a couple weeks ago. Nikki and Pug infiltrate Intelligentsia. So this is where we get into the stuff. They're like, it felt like the whole episode, I was like, oh, this is what's happening. No, it's not.
Right.
So we talk about this. Nikki is logging on, uploading the video.
Nikki's the bad person. I called it. Like, that's what
you and I are like, let's go. We're about to take a victory lap. Nope, she's bamboozling them. Great bamboozle. And then I thought Pug might be a potential. I thought personally Pug might be part of it.
Yeah, you know.
And he wasn't. He's just naturally a great guy. I know Pug is like Zane's favorite character in this show too. So I was really happy for Zane that he could keep that. And to learn that Todd was Hulk King, like
it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. He's rich.
Sure, makes complete sense. Like he, if it were to not be a new character, he is the most viable candidate. It was clear and evident, right?
And it wasn't the leader.
Sure, and
that's
to call it Intelligentsia. Did you guys talk about that last week? Like,
no,
Intelligentsia is the leader, is part of that group in the comics. Like,
oh yeah.
I felt like that was their way of introducing him personally. If I had been on that episode, I would have doubled down on the leader.
And with what happens later, where when She-Hulk like fixes stuff, that blood sample's still out there.
Oh yeah,
he could have just been a pawn for the leader, because if in the leader's lore, that's what he does. He uses people as pawns for his scheme. So
pause real quick before we get into the nuttiness. Do we think there's any Skrulls? Skrull watch. Who would be your top candidate to be a Skrull right now in this universe?
It is still Wong and Emil Blonsky.
I don't think it's Emil Blonsky, but I do think it's Wong.
I wouldn't be surprised with both, but yeah, I'm still pretty hard on. Oopsies. I'm pretty sure that he's if it's left in, it's left in. Whatever, bro.
I would love to know what the Vegas odds are of him being a Skrull, because I'd love to put a bet on it.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the whole thing. Like with Skrulls, I mean, it could be Nikki or Pug. One of them could be, but
Yeah, I don't think the stakes are high enough for them to be one of them.
But that's the whole point of Skrulls is like, yeah, they're supposed to be infiltrating basically almost all aspects of, nations.
I could see it being the other lawyer, the other female lawyer.
Oh, the other one. Yeah.
I could see her being a Skrull, just to kind of keep an eye on her.
Because I've been watching, what is it called? Like Heroes United, the like 2010 like animated Avengers show.
Sure.
Avengers Assemble, I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
And that's something they do. They slowly take out the strong Avengers, kind of like taking out Captain America, replacing him, taking out Hulk, or like just removing them from being able to fight when they need to infiltrate. So it's like, that could be it. They're like, oh, we need someone to be watching this other Hulk because we want to make sure she can get neutralized. So then who's all involved to help her get neutralized? And
do the Skrulls, because my other theory was, do the Skrulls take this blood sample and that's how they can make a super Skrull?
Maybe.
Okay, here we go. So Pug infiltrates the event, Todd's the guy, and he's hulking. And the Abomination is the motivational speaker. So we get another bamboozle. You talked about this, where I was like, oh my gosh, he is one of the bad guys. But nope, he's just trying to tout his karma.
There was
crazy stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we have to back up. When Pug was in like trying to like be bros with the guys, he was like, women, I tell you. And they're like, yeah, women. Like, it was totally attacking the people that just hate the show because.
Oh yeah. We want to talk about that? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Cause that I thought that was so great that like the villains in this is just groups of men who just can't have a woman be in power.
They accurately predicted how people would react to this show in deep internet spheres.
Yeah, it was great.
There were some people that were acting that way. But those people don't have viable opinions, in my opinion. Like, it's just like, whatever. if you didn't like the show, I can live with that. Just give me a reasonable answer. Like, hey, it's clunky. It's not written well. I don't follow the story as well. I would like the stakes to be higher. Them having the foresight to see how that would go was incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
Not crazy, but impressive that the way they wrote it.
Yeah, Neil Blonsky's there to give.
Oh yeah, then Todd.
He's just hired to be a motivational speaker, but
Yeah,
we
just
find
there.
out he does it as Abomination.
He's a good guy. He reminds me of Korg. The way he's acting right now is like Korg.
Yeah,
that's like my comparison. He's acting like Korg. So Walters arrives, and then Todd injects himself and becomes like Bro Hulk. Did you think he was going to become Red Hulk?
Yes, that was. I literally looked at Kelly and I was like, "This is who Red Hulk's going to be, I guess." That's what I said.
Yeah.
So I was expecting him to start turning red, and he didn't. And I was just like, "Oh, maybe when he gets big."
And she even made a joke about it.
Yeah.
Jennifer she's like, "Are we doing this? Are we actually doing this right now?" Which again was just like so perfect. So perfect. For her to know what the educated Marvel fan is thinking. Loved it. I thought that was great.
I love that.
And then
the educated
Titania
Marvel.
and Banner show up.
Yeah.
So at this point, pause. Max is going like, oh, they're
doing the Marvel ending again.
They're doing the stupid Marvel ending. They're ruining the show. They're pulling a WandaVision. My first thought was they're pulling a WandaVision. Oh, honest to God, I said that to myself. And then
were you expecting White Vision to show up too?
If White Vision showed up and then they did this, I might have stood up and applauded.
Better. Like, yeah,
I would have stood up and applauded. I would have just gone ballistic.
Oh, great.
Or like if Steve Rogers pulled up and it's like, wait, what? He's dead.
A young Steve Rogers too.
Or
like
Rocket and Groot pop up. I don't even know these guys. I never met them. So they appear, and then
I want that just over the top, like a handful of superheroes from each.
Yeah, just randos, just everybody. That would have been great.
Look, I get it. You're lazy, and coffee from the grocery store is just as good as ordering from somewhere like Mini World's Tavern, right? Wrong! That's dumb, and you should feel so dumb for thinking that. Does your local grocery store donate a portion of their proceeds to charity? Actually, if they do that, that is kind of awesome. But we guarantee that Mini World's Tavern does that. Besides, it's not like your grocery store provides an amazing monthly blend with added RPG-themed bonuses. That's a limited edition Mini World's Tavern exclusive, baby. They are the online coffee brand that's perfect for game night. Guys, I should know. Before every podcast and every time I go live on Twitch, I fill an entire bathtub full of Great Old One, and I do my best Lord Harkonnen impression. Guys, grab a bag for yourself right now. Go to www.miniworldstavern.com/theinfinitybros, all one word. And guess what? You're going to save yourself 10% at checkout.
She breaks the inhibitor, breaks the fourth wall by going through Marvel Studios Assembled.
Oh yeah, it goes like it makes it look like you backed out of the episode.
Did you think that you accidentally backed out?
No, because I didn't.
I totally did. 100% they got me.
And I love how she chose Avengers Assembled, whatever they call that, Assembled.
Yeah.
To like, because she knew it's like, hey, that's the show where like they do their filming on the campus. Yep. So like, let's go there.
She's like looking around.
Yeah, I love how how they chose that she kicked Loki's panel and got that all messed up.
Yep, that was fun. That was good. And then she meets her writers. They're all freaking out. And then she fights people to get to Kevin. And I have subtitles on when I watch.
Oh, yeah.
So this was kind of a spoiler. I didn't know what it meant. But you're watching as if you're going like, she's going to talk to Kevin Feige.
Yep.
They're doing it. They're doing the thing. Like, that's the point where we're Leonardo DiCaprio, right?
Daddy Feige's showing up.
Daddy Feige's about to show up. She meets with Kevin, an artificial intelligence that claims to be in charge of the MCU's storyline. And this is when the show does. I have not had this feeling of shock and awe since Avengers Endgame or the Loki season finale, Mark. What were your thoughts on this scene?
Initially, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, we're going to go see, like, she's actually going to talk to Kevin Feige. And I think what made it better was that it was actually an art, like they made Kevin an artificial like machine that was like you said, controlling everything. And then her being so, like, again, meta about, like, you know, the whole, should I change back? Is it more expensive if I keep being She-Hulk?
Oh,
and
so
then,
good.
And then Kevin's like, well, do it off screen because I'll save us money. Like that type of stuff. I loved it.
Yeah, the X-Men comment.
Oh, yeah. And she's like, the X-Men?
Yeah, the fact that
When's X-Men coming?
He's like, do it off screen. Our VFX team is turned to the next project, and you hear the Black Panther music. I just was like, oh my word, so well done. Such a great edit. Her making jokes about smashing things, including Matt Murdock and storylines. I just was like,
yeah.
This is flawless writing right here. This is exactly what this universe needed.
And I would love to know, was this the finale that was initially pitched? Or was this like a collaborative thing where they came to that? Because it's like, whoever thought of this, like, deserves all the praise. Because this is such an ending no one could have predicted.
Going into the show, Mark, I remember people were making comments of like, there's got to be a point where she talks to Kevin Feige about her own show. I remember people making that joke. But as the show went on and the fourth wall breaks were just minimal, here's my honest opinion on it. I think what they did. I think if they do a second season, they're going to have a ton of fourth wall breaks.
Yeah.
I think they intentionally went light on the fourth wall breaks this season for this moment.
Like Zach Morris level wall breaks from Saved by the Bell.
I think they intentionally limited them, Mark, for this moment. So that when this moment happened, it wouldn't be as predictable.
Feel earned. And
I really do think that. I think her fourth wall breaks were like a superpower almost this season. She had to learn how to use them.
Sure.
And it cultivated in that. I think that's what this season was also about. I think it was about her understanding the relationship with the audience, the creators understanding what the audience wanted with the fourth wall breaks, but also you can't do that every season, right? You can't go to Kevin every season. You can do it. Mm-hmm. At least you could do it once a season, but you can't do it to change the whole plot like they did this year. They just won't be able to do that.
Did you hear? Because I saw some articles on this stuff and I saved it so I could read them after I saw the show, and I finally read them. Where Jessica Gao wanted Kevin Feige to voice Kevin, but he refused to do it.
That's ridiculous. He should have done it.
And apparently, because Kevin had axed this idea, apparently every machine or robot that they had masked or like written up or like drawn had a hat on it, and he said no hat.
He had a hat. His circle thing was a hat.
Kinda, but like it was apparently like a real hat that was
sure.
Like that was the whole joke because he wears a hat.
It sounds like Kevin was a little too serious about himself in that moment.
So I think that would have been more wild if like he actually voiced Kevin. I think that would have been great, but
But I think his thought is like, oh, then I have to keep doing it.
Exactly, probably. Or like
his thought is I got to do it again if we do it again.
Or people are like, oh, he's just being like, super ego.
No, he's earned the right to have that role and do that, and nobody will make a joke, in my opinion. Neither here nor there.
I was also expecting once they went in there, I was like, do you think she like runs by Deadpool like in like pre-production? Like that's what I kind of expected to happen.
I was expecting her to run into like Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, something like that.
I was like, any actor in this universe could be walking by her or sitting there reading a newspaper right now. Any one of them. I really was wondering what they were going to do. I really think this season was about her learning how to use the fourth wall break as a superpower.
And that's what she does in the comics, where like she'll go use other stories that happen in other universes as defenses, for her cases.
I think that was what she was doing. I think the writers made it very clear because it was limited. It didn't happen a ton. And all season we're like, oh, everybody was like, I want more of it. But it's like, then she full-fledged did it. And now she understands what she can do with it. I really think that's what happened here. Yeah, I loved it. I ate it all up. It worked for me. I do understand if you're somebody that didn't like how this went. I think this is one of the arguments for the show I can understand.
I had a thought just come to my head. So you know how like Valkyrie can use I always forget the horse's name, but basically the travel through dimensions.
Pegasus, right?
Yeah, Pegasus. And then Thor can use like Stormbreaker to transfer.
Sure.
Does She-Hulk just have that ability? If she can come into our universe? she can just go to like eternity whenever she feels like it, if she just feels the need to go.
I think it would be really funny.
There it is.
I think it would be funny. You can't do it in a serious way.
No.
But you can do it in a funny way.
Like she just accidentally is like there. And she's like, oh, what the heck happened?
And you're making a good point. Like, I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, she could just relight the whole show. Where like, again, I literally read an argument that somebody said like she made Daredevil have sex with her. That was like a legitimate argument somebody made because she's writing her own story. She made it so he got to come back to have sex with her. And I'm like, that's a ridiculous stretch to this context.
There's some truth to that kind of, but like, isn't that the whole concept of the show is like she's writing her own destiny? Like that's what like a person should do, is be able to control how their life goes. That's by making...
I don't know if I think that kind of philosophy personally, but I understand what you're saying. You're saying in the context of this show, that's the message they're sending.
Oh yeah, or like that Jennifer Walters is believing in herself, being able to write her own destiny. Like that's kind of the whole overshadowing of it. Yeah, like it ties like it gets very fourth wall, like we saw it. Like it gets, very meta, and I keep saying meta all the time but it is. That's what's so wonderful. Anyways.
It's the same reason on the flip side of the coin that like Deadpool doesn't stick out to me as much as it does to other people. Because the meta shtick doesn't work for me a ton. The reason it worked in this context was I think the story is better here than Deadpool. I really do. Like, I love what they're doing with this character.
But I think that comes back to what you're kind of into for storytelling.
Exactly.
Because very much Deadpool was very crude, action-oriented, violent, and, absurdly funny. And that's what you wanted from a Deadpool movie, where it's like the She-Hulk show, told us, hey, it's going to be a legal drama comedy. And then if like you said, if you're an educated Marvel fan, she can also fourth wall break. So you're just assuming that's going to happen. And I think just, it's, what people are preference to and what they like is what honestly dictates whether or not you like something.
Sure.
And I'm someone that loves both of those properties. So that's why I want them to cross over. I think that'd be great stuff.
I agree. I think it'd be their two genres would definitely clash.
Yep.
Finally, she goes back. Emil Blonsky turns himself in. She celebrates with her family. Murdoch shows up. I love how he just jumped out of nowhere. Hilarious.
I keep forgetting her name.
Titania.
Titania, thank you. And Hulk. Out of that
from
scenario.
Smashing. Yep. She's still there. She shows up to film it, but she doesn't smash
destroy
the thing.
Yep.
Banner, and this is the other thing that I loved about this ending. They just really, some people will say they went really quick here. I don't think they went quick. I think they went the perfect amount of time.
It's exactly what would happen if you showed up late to a family gathering and you 100%. Had something like this to like show. You're just like,
yes. Banner shows up. Hey guys. Hey, how's it going, Bruce? I got a son. And then boom.
After Jessica's dad had been like, when are you guys gonna have babies, to Matt Murdock and her?
Sure.
Like that's like, yes.
That is again
a new kid to the
right in the jellies.
Yeah.
I have been there. Yeah, Scar was not out of left field, but it was shocking to see him on the screen.
Only thing shocking was apparently the haircut people don't appreciate. So
do you have a strong opinion about the haircut, Mark?
I don't think it. I mean, now kind of knowing what the haircut is, when I've read, it's like I didn't have any strong opinion before, but knowing why they gave him the haircut, it like makes sense. So
Will Dustner is the actor playing him. He is Joey Zarek from Stargirl, which is on the CW.
Pulling a lot of actors from Stargirl in this show. Pug was from The Flash.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then he did a TV series called Shut Eye.
Okay.
So a little not a well-known actor, but getting a very, 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 very big role for the future.
Because this basically sets up World War Hulk or Planet Hulk.
Jennifer also said save it for the movie.
Yep.
When Kevin talked about all this.
Yep.
So to me, that was confirmation that there's going to be a movie. And she vows to be a superhero and a lawyer. Mid-credit scene, Wong breaks Blonsky out of prison. Again, we talked about this earlier. I think Wong is still a Skrull, and I think he's keeping Blonsky close So that way, if the Avengers find out, he has somebody to fight on behalf of him.
Oh, that's your thought. I like that. But if he was a Skrull, though, he could just turn into Abomination to have his powers too. So that also could be the thing. Is like that's why he wants him. That's why he wants him next to him.
Sure.
So like if something serious happens, he has a superpowered, Abomination to help him fight his way out of a sticky situation. But now, what's the next show that we're getting? Is it Secret Invasion? Is the next one?
Secret Invasion should be next. Yes. No, Black Panther, then Secret Invasion.
Well, I meant in show wise.
Sure. Like, Secret Invasion is next. That'll be in February.
Because then we also get I think it's Black Panther, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Secret Invasion happens.
Oh my gosh, we're about to get to a banger of movies.
Because I think there's like a 2-month break. They're giving us 2 months to cool off. Because I'm sure they're going to hit us hard with Black Panther, which I'm 100% convinced Namor is not the villain at all in this movie. It's all set up in the previews.
Yeah, it's
Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom. Okay, so here's what's coming up next. We have Black Panther coming November 11th. We keep forgetting about this, but the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Oh, okay. Which we were supposed to get last year. We were supposed to get that last year.
Yep. Then you have Ant-Man in February.
Okay.
Then you have What If.
Okay,
What If will be what happens in between that. Then you get Secret Invasion in spring of 2023.
I'm all right with that.
And then next summer we go Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Echo, Loki Season 2, The Marvels, Ironheart, Agatha, Daredevil. Then before you know it, 2024, we're Captain America New World Order, and we're right back into the thick of this whole Marvel thing. Crazy. But this Black Panther movie is going to be something. Well, we're going to save talking about that for later. All right, a couple things. 2 more things before we go, Mark. Sacha Baron Cohen is rumored to be MCU's Mephisto. This comes from Dark Horizon. Multiple reports on Twitter and select geek sites are citing the rumor that actor Sacha Baron Cohen will portray the iconic villain Mephisto in the upcoming Marvel Studios series Ironheart on the Disney Plus service. The rumors first seemed to emerge on the Marvel Studios Spoilers Reddit thread, which I am active on, so I can confirm that I've seen it on there as well. But it was reported by My Time to Shine, who a lot of people consider to be a top rumor spoiler person.
Like he must be that person must be an insider.
That person's been right about more things that they've been wrong.
Interesting.
So, Anthony Ramos plays the show's main villain, the Hood, a character who in the comics receives magical powers from the cosmic entity Dormammu, who appeared in the 2016 Doctor Strange film. These reports suggest that is being changed for Ironheart, with the Hood now getting their powers from Mephisto after coming to a deal with him. Do you buy that this rumor is happening?
I wish this rumor wasn't even spread at all. Because at this point, I just want Mephisto to show up randomly. I don't want to know he's coming.
Sure, you want him to just show up.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a Marvel character that I've been more eager to see. Yeah. Except for maybe Fantastic Four.
Well, and for Mephisto, having Sacha Baron Cohen play him, great. Love it. Very nice. I love it. I'm all in on that.
Yes, yeah, yes. I guess the question is, do we think he's doing it?
I mean, it sounds like something he would do. Like that seems right up his alley for
right.
You know,
it's a rumor, so we don't know. This is a confirmed report. What I'm going to share now. Harrison Ford is joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So Collider published this.
No longer a rumor. You're saying
it is not a rumor. This is Collider reported it. I'm sorry, forgive me. Slash Film and the Hot Mic reported it first.
And this is we talked about this a few episodes ago, like if they were going to replace Thunderbolt Ross. And clearly they have.
It's an interesting subject given the fact that T'Challa didn't get replaced. Right? And obviously T'Challa's place in the cultural cinematic universe is significantly different than Thaddeus Ross.
Correct.
I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 6. I don't know how I feel about Harrison Ford doing this role. His off life, like how he talks about Star Wars movies, he's kind of a jerk about Star Wars. It depends on the day of the week when he talks about Star Wars, and I don't want somebody like that being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. My assumption here is they're paying him a ton of money, and he'll do one movie in person, and then after that he can just voice a character that's CGI. That's my assumption.
Yeah, because he probably then will become Red Hulk.
They got to get him to be Red Hulk as fast as possible, so then they don't have to worry about Harrison Ford going out there and acting.
But in all fairness about Star Wars and his disdain for it, apparently, I bet he has dealt with some of the worst beratements from Star Wars fans. Because Star Wars fans are awful.
Yes. However, Star Wars is the reason he's famous.
Sure.
Star Wars is the
Jones.
reason he has all the money he has.
Indiana Jones, but whatever.
But he doesn't get Star Wars. He got that role first.
And then he got.
That's the point I make. It's
he
not.
got
I'm not.
And then got the real role of Indiana Jones.
I'm not dogging Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is a great series.
Yes, he's an iconic role. But then he's two
iconic roles.
But I bet he just like versus Indiana Jones because he's back doing that again. But he's also probably being backed up a dump truck of money. Think about it. Just 30 years of people asking him probably the same questions over and over again.
Totally.
And I'm sure that would,
yes.
And you go either route. It's like he kept being and working famous. So to him, he's like, okay, I've done other stuff. Stop talking to me about this. Versus like Mark Hamill has totally embraced it because of
sure. So then my question is,
again.
why sign on for the Marvel Cinematic Universe when this is this generation Star Wars?
Maybe he's a fan of Red Hulk. You don't know that. He could also be a fan.
No, that's a great point. You're right.
And I go back to who was it? The guy who played Bison in the Street Fighter movie, and then he like passed away like a year after the movie came out. He took the role because his son liked that stuff. So he wanted to be in the movie. So it's like, it could be something like that. It could be something where it's just like, maybe he has a child that's like, hey, Dad, that'd be awesome if you're in the Marvel movies. And he's just like, all right, fine. And then goes and is in the Marvel movies. I don't know. It could be something like that.
Yeah, right. No,
or Marvel's like, hey, here's $12 million. Do you want that? And he's just like, okay. And then that's it. And like you said, maybe the role is like, yeah, we want you in one movie as the general, and then we're going to turn you to Red Hulk, and then we just need your voice going on there. So
I think that's the direction they're going with him. I don't know why, if you hated all that, why you would sign on for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But you make a fair point. That fan base is toxic, but I think the MCU fan base is toxic too.
It's getting toxic
at times, depending on who you're talking to.
We just need to love everybody.
Everybody love everybody, Mark.
Yep.
Well, Mark, thank you for coming on and reviewing She-Hulk episode 9 in the season 1 finale with me. We had a great season reviewing this. If this is your first time checking us out, I would highly recommend you check us out and how we review things. We're known for around these parts for our WandaVision review, as well as our Loki review. You want to check those out. Those will be in the show notes. And you can follow Mark and I on Twitter. Marky Mark. Is it just Marky Mark?
No, when I created Twitter, Marky Mark was, back in the old days, 10 years ago.
Many moons ago.
I had to give myself an extra Y and then 2 numbers.
Sure. And then it's just MaxMoser73. Check us out on Twitter. Follow the Infinity Bros at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Twitch. You can follow us on Discord, become part of our community there. You can also check us out when we're streaming 2 to 4 days a week as well on there. As always, we love you guys 3000, and we will talk to you guys later. See ya. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Infinity Bros. Feel free to send listener feedback via email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.